Kara Rudder with us. She is meeting us from Aiken, South Carolina at her farm called Project Victory Gardens. She and her husband started this garden as an, is it a charity? Is that correct? It's for veterans to learn resiliency skills. And I'm very curious to hear more about that and how that works. One term that I was very interested in is agritherapy. I've never heard of it, but it sounds like something y'all are experts in. So I'm going to let you take it away, Kara, and tell us about your farm. And then we get a little look at what you've got going on over there.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much for having us. So I am Kara Rudder. My husband and I retired last year from the U.S. Army. So between us, we had about 45 years in the Army. And now we're really happy to wake up every morning and be able to go and hang out with our animals here on the farm. So we started this farm, and we do have both a for-profit and a nonprofit side of the farm. So Project Victory Gardens is the nonprofit side, and it's dedicated to providing agritherapy, animal therapy, and farm-to-table education for primarily veterans, but also the community at large. So that's why we do things like this as well. In South Carolina, agriculture is the #1 industry. So if you are interested in getting into agriculture, South Carolina is a great place to do it. There is no shortage of agriculture jobs in the state. And kind of going back to that slide that you showed, I can guarantee that every one of those, knowledge, skills, and attributes will be put to the test every day on the farm. There's always a place for math, for the arts. Even social studies and geography get tested here on the farm. We have pigs that came to us from Hungary, and certainly ingenuity is important when you're farming. So we have a little bit of everything here on the farm. We want people to be able to come here to Project Victory Gardens and just really experience a whole wealth of different farming options for them and kind of pick what speaks to them so that they can use that going forward in their own farming pursuits. So we can walk around a little bit and let you see what's going on. We're going to start, I'm down here in the greenhouse right now. And so we do aquaponics, and we're in the middle of breaking down our aquaponics system for the winter. But a couple months ago, it was, huge. We grew primarily basil in the aquaponics system. Basil is a really high dollar crop, and it does great in aquaponics. So for those of you unfamiliar with what aquaponics is, it's basically growing plants in water, and those plants are fertilized by fish. And so I'm going to see if I can flip my camera here so that we can start taking a look at everything we have here. So here we are. So this first tank that you see here, this is the fish tank. It's a little dark in there, so you can't see them. But the fish, through both respiration and digestion, produce ammonia, which is then converted by the natural bacteria in the water into nitrates and nitrites, and that's what feeds these plants. So right here, this awesome looking plant here, this is ginger. So I took a piece of ginger from the grocery store, and I threw it into the aquaponics system this spring, I guess, and this is what we have right behind it. That's lemongrass, and I have cut this thing all the way down about 3 times this year, and it's still about 5 feet tall. An awesome root system. So we'll kind of get in here and take a look. There's the ginger. So if you've seen that at the grocery store, it actually grows as a root, and then those leaves are pulled off. So this is it's a really scalable way to grow. It's a soilless technology. And so that can be really good if you have questionable soils like we do in large parts of South Carolina. You can make this thing as big or small as you want. We have one aquaponic system that we have in the house on a 30-gallon aquarium. So you can have a little a little herb garden in your house, just on a regular fish tank, all the way up to, you know, a big 600 to 1,000 gallon system like this. So we can talk a little bit about agritherapy and animal therapy. That's one of the things that we like to focus on here. We have a lot of programs for veterans that have post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injuries, and, you know, other issues from a long time at war and some of the things that they've seen. So we bring them out to the farm, and one of their favorite things is hanging out with the goats. And so down here we've got some of our goats. These are our girls. So this is Stoli. She is a Nubian dairy goat. She's registered, comes from great milking lines. And this is her daughter right here. Say hello. Oh, Stoli wants to say hello. She's right here. And then we have Baby Girl. Baby Girl is certainly a favorite on the farm. She is a fainting goat, and everybody loves her. So there's a lot of folks that come out here and just kind of hang out and pet goats, and really get back to nature, and and that's really a lot of what we do, is just bring folks out and let them get their hands dirty. There's certainly something to be said for dirt therapy. There are microbes in the dirt that help your endorphin levels and help you feel better. So that's a huge part of why we do what we do. So that's Baby Girl. And if you've heard all the commotion around me, that is our turkey and broiler hens. So these brown turkeys, these are bourbon reds. And then we've got some broad-breasted and some artisan gold here. The bigger ones will be Thanksgiving dinner. And the smaller ones will probably be Christmas and breeders for next year. And then these huge broilers, they are Freedom Rangers. So we raise and process on the farm about 50 of the Freedom Rangers every couple months or so. These ones are actually a little bigger than what we like. So they have a date with the processor and freezer camp this weekend. And that's one of the things you have to learn about living on a farm, is that everything has to contribute. And either it contributes for food or compost or does something else for you. And so these ones are destined to be on the Thanksgiving table. And these ones are going to be great fried chicken. So we'll take a little walk up the hill, and we'll see where the pigs are hanging out. So we raise primarily Mangalitsa and then a Mangalitsa cross.
Kara, can I ask you while you're walking, how did y'all get involved in this? What gave you this idea? I've never heard of this.
Okay. So, my husband and I, we were both pretty senior in the Army. He was in military intelligence. We'd both worked in big windowless offices for a long time. And when we retired, we wanted to do something totally different. We wanted to be outside and be able to enjoy nature. And we still wanted to work with veterans. And so one of the really big concerns right now, and it should be of particular interest to any students that are looking at getting into farming, is that the average age of a farmer is about 58 years old. And a third of farmers in the United States are over the age of 65. So, there's a real threat to our food security. And my background is food. I was an Army cook, and I've always been involved in food service. And so I've always been really concerned about where my food comes from. And I think if you look at, if you look at the grocery store shelves over the past year, especially, there's definitely some threats to our food security in the United States. And so we wanted to kind of get in on that and be part of the solution. And so there's, in South Carolina, 14% of farmers have military service. And so we worked with the Farmer Veteran Coalition, a national nonprofit, to stand up our own state chapter of the Farmer Veteran Coalition, and then also our personal nonprofit, Project Victory Gardens, so that we can encourage transitioning veterans to get involved in agriculture. And so that's really, really important to us. And we've worked very closely with the South Carolina Department of Agriculture, as well as the South Carolina Department of Veteran Affairs, to encourage veterans to transition into agriculture. But we'd certainly also, want to encourage all those high school students. We have some great ag programs here in the state. Clemson and SC State both have nationally renowned agriculture programs. If you are interested in it, absolutely jump into it. It's a great career field, particularly right now. We need younger people, and you don't have to be a row crop farmer and have thousands of acres. There are some things that you can do on very small acreage. And one of those things is pigs. So here are some of our pigs. So the Mangalitsa is a curly-haired pig. It originates from Hungary. They were brought over to the United States about 15 years ago. And so we've got some of we have the first litter of registered Mangalitsa pigs in South Carolina. I think we can walk down and we'll see Mama and her babies down there, but let's come over and take a look at Ilka. Ilka's one of our registered Mangalitsas. Come say hi, Ilka. Come say hi to the peoples. Hi. Yes.
So she is so pretty. I've never seen one.
She is awesome. She's going to be big like her Aunt Piper, though. We'll go see Piper in a minute. And then these ones here, this is a Berkshire Mangalitsa cross. And the Mangalitsas are a lard breed pig. And that kind of goes back to some of the history that farmers have to be historians too. So shortly after World War II, when everyone started getting electricity in their houses, we were going through a lot less candles. Procter and Gamble had just a total overload of cottonseed oil. And so they had to find a purpose for cottonseed oil, which is naturally not extremely edible. And so they figured out the hydrogenation process, and that's how we got Crisco. And so there was a lot of, I would call them pseudo-scientific studies to tell people that Crisco and vegetable oils and vegetable shortening are all much better for you than lard. And so people stopped eating lard. Farmers started growing a much leaner pig, and that's kind of how it became the other white meat. Up until that point, people had used lard for all of their cooking purposes, all of their baking purposes, and pigs had a lot more fat on them than they do today. Well, we've seen that maybe vegetable shortenings are not quite as healthy as we thought they were. And so the Mangalitsa pig is actually much higher much better in the good fats and much lower in the bad fats than any of your vegetable-based based cooking oils. And so we are definitely trying to bring back the lard. That's the hashtag that we're using, so that we can focus on the purpose of these awesome Mangalitsa pigs. And so Piper has decided to grace us with her presence. So we'll take a look at her. Come here, Piper. She is about 450 pounds. And she's been a little aggressive ever since she had these piglets over here. So these are Piper's piglets. So they're just starting to get their curls, but they are the first litter of registered Mangalitsa piglets in the state of South Carolina. So that's super cool.
Congratulations. I just love them. And what you said about the health benefits. Who knew? I did not.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Did not know that at all. Yeah.
You know, the other thing to think about is, you know, our pigs are born in the dirt. They live their entire lives in the pasture. So they're out in the sunlight, soaking in all that awesome vitamin D. You know, they're rooting around, so they're getting the iron and all the trace minerals from the ground. And so their meat is much different than what you would see. And we can pop in the freezer for a second after this and see, but their meat is much different than what you would see in a traditional commercial raised, commercial raised hog that has never once set foot on the dirt. I mean, they're born on concrete. They live their entire lives on concrete. And the only thing that they eat is what they're given. So these animals, however, are much slower growing. It takes us about 18 months to get a pig to market size, than, you know, as opposed to the 4 to 5 months that it would take a commercial hog to go to market.
When you say market size, about what would that be?
So we just took 4 pigs to the processor 2 weeks ago. 1 Mangalitsa, 2 Berkshires, and an American guinea hog. And their hanging weight, which is after they're dressed out, basically, was between 200 and 230 pounds. So their total weight was about 275 to 300 pounds is market weight.
So when they're first born, their coat is that white color that we saw, and then they turn the beige color. Is that
Actually,
correct?
when they're first born, they look like chipmunks.
Oh, okay.
They are super cute. The Mangalitsa piglets have stripes when they're born.
Oh, okay.
And then there's 3 different color variations of Mangalitsas, and we only have 2 here, the blondes, which is what Piper is, and then Ilka is actually a color combination, but she appears to be one of the reds. And so we're excited to breed her, because we've also got, and excuse the mess down here. It rained yesterday, and they get real messy when it rains. We'll come over here and see the boys, so you can see Fodor. He's going to be our big boar here on the farm. And he is also a color combination, but appears red. So this is Fodor and his sidekicks here. And they are all young boars. So they do quite a bit of pushing each other around during the days. But Fodor is going to be, he's going to be our big boy. Aren't you, buddy?
Well, you're making me want to start switch over from what I'm eating now to eating your pigs. Where can we buy this meat?
Absolutely. Well, you can buy it from us here at the farm. We've got some now, and then we'll have a lot more in the spring. Or, you know, I mean, just any of your heritage breed pigs that are pasture raised or forest raised. You know, and there's pig farmers all over the state that are raising some amazing pigs. You know, the Berkshires, Tamworth, Durocs, any of your heritage breeds are gonna provide all those health benefits. And it's just kind of really a matter of of what the breeder is looking for, what you're looking for, to find one that fits your needs. The American guinea hog that we had, he was all fat. He was a fat boy. And so that doesn't really meet our needs because we didn't get enough meat out of him. But that's why we're doing the Berkelitzes, so we can get a little bit more meat, but then also have that beautiful marbling and beautiful fat that the Mangalitzes have. So this is the chicken coop. This is where the chickens come hang out and lay their eggs. We've got all different colored eggs. So that makes a real fun egg basket there. So we'll make one more stop, and that is with the bees.
That was a lot of eggs. How often do you collect them?
I didn't grab them last night, but we have, I don't know, I've got about 30 laying hens running around here, and they all seem to share, one or two of the nesting boxes. So they kind of pile up in there. And then, so our next stop will be with the honeybees. And so we had about 6 hives going this summer. And one of them is our observation and teaching hive. Okay, you guys need to keep it down. So we'll open it up and you guys can visit the bees for yourself. So this is our observation hive. You've seen traditional beehives, and they typically are built up. So there's several boxes that sit on top of each other. If you've seen them out in a pasture or something, those boxes can get really heavy, 80 to 100 pounds when they're full of bees and honey. And between my husband and I, we've had about 6 shoulder surgeries, and the idea of lifting 10,000 bees in a 80-pound box didn't really appeal to us. So we built this. This is a long Langstroth. So it uses the same frames and the same equipment as you would in a traditional Langstroth hive, except you're not lifting the whole thing. So you can just pull out one frame at a time. And this one is great because we do have this observation window. So we can bring folks over here and they can see what the bees are doing without actually having to open it and invade the bee space. But this has been a great program, going back to our agrotherapy again. When you work with bees, you have to be very calm. You're invading their space. And they will definitely provide you with some immediate feedback if you're not calm and relaxed when you're doing it. And so working with veterans with PTSD and using the bees has been really, really good. Southern Living just did an article on what we're doing here. We were on the news in Augusta last week. For some of the work we're doing with veterans and PTSD and the bees.
How many veterans would you say you've been working with?
Over the course of the last year or so, we have a group that comes out about once a month from the Fort Gordon neuroscience department. The traumatic brain injury and PTSD programs come out. And so they usually bring about 6 to 10 veterans. They do a 3-week intensive outpatient program. And they come out here once a month and do that. We've had several other programs. We called it Veterans Coffee and Chores. So it was open to any veteran, and they would come out and just do morning chores with us and hang out, and we'd sit and drink coffee afterwards and just have a good time to fellowship and be together. And then we've done a lot of other classes and things like that. So there's been hundreds through here in the last year or so.
And have y'all seen improvements?
Absolutely. I mean, we've actually seen, one of the veterans that came out here for the Fort Gordon program, he actually ended up doing a 4-month internship with us, and has purchased land of his own, and he's really excited about his future and in farming himself. So it's been really exciting. And then we did a 2-day farmer boot camp for transitioning veterans, where they were able to spend the first day talking with some of the stakeholders and experts in the field here in South Carolina. And then the second day they came out here and did a day on the farm where we castrated pigs and banded goats and slaughtered chickens and kind of spent the whole day doing hands-on work. And that was really exciting to see the interest there is in agriculture here in the state.
So is this done at any other farms that you know of?
There's a few that do similar programs. Comfort Farms, John Jackson down in Milledgeville, Georgia, has a great program. And there's quite a number of veteran-owned farms that do things similar to this. Being a veteran, we like being around other veterans, and most of us do. So most veteran-owned farms try to, I think, incorporate a little bit of that into what they do. And then there's some great, just non-veteran-owned farms in the state and out that are really focusing on agritourism and classes and things like that. So, being a farmer today is not just about digging in the dirt and planting seeds. There's a lot more to that. A lot of folks are using things like agritourism. They're all using social media and marketing, and so it's not just about being able to plow and bring a crop to market anymore. You have to be a business person. You have to be able to market and sell your product. And so there's just a whole wealth of, once again, going back to those knowledge and skills that you learn in your programs. You need to be able to bring all of that to bear when you're a farmer these days.
So do you and your husband have a background in farming, or is that something you'd studied?
No, not really. His dad was a chicken farmer when he was young. I'm from Montana, so I always grew up around farms, but never really on a farm. And so it was just something that really, really interested us both. And so when we did our final assignments, he was stationed at Fort Gordon and I was up at Shaw Air Force Base in Sumter. And so we found this place here in Aiken with 20 acres and we decided to be farmers. But farming is great because you're not in competition with your fellow farmers. There's enough, the market is big enough that we all kind of share it, and we're all willing to pitch in if one of us needs help fencing or castrating pigs or doing something like that. We're all willing to go and help out. And so just getting out there and networking with other people that are doing the same thing you are, learning from them is a great part of what we do. And then just studying and research, and my background is food, so I knew what I liked, I knew what I wanted, and so it's been a really fun time, and we're really excited about what's to come.
It's really cool. How long did it take you guys to get up and running?
So I think we're still getting up and running, but we're also in the middle of moving the farm. So we're in Aiken now, but we're in the process of relocating up to Townville, up by Anderson, right on Lake Hartwell. So we got 70 acres on the lake. So we're excited about moving that. But, it took us months just to build the fence. We've built about 1.5 miles of fence line here at this property. And then my husband is in the process right now of building the fence up there that we'll need to be able to move our animals. And it's a constant, it's a constant state of improvement and, rebuilding and redirecting and kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't. We definitely kind of jumped into a few things without thinking it all the way through. And there's some lessons that we've learned, and when you're dealing with animals particularly, it's really 3 years before you can start seeing any kind of a profit, especially if you're doing breeders. If you buy a young breeding pair of pigs, you can't breed them until they're a year, and then they're pregnant for 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days. And so then it takes another 2 months before they're weaned. So that's almost another 6 months. And then, before you can get those pigs up to market, you're at least 2 years, plus into that process. And so, the chickens are faster. You can get them to market weight in 8 to 12 weeks, depending on which breed you're going with. And so you kind of have to diversify a little or have off-farm jobs until you can really, focus all of your attention and efforts on something.
What's your biggest suggestion for somebody going into agriculture that, is getting into farming like you were?
Talk to the Clemson Extension or the SC State Extension before you do anything. Really, know your resources. So you can learn a ton on YouTube and Facebook and the interwebs. But there's people in this state, or really in any state, whose job it is to help you become a farmer. And reach out to them, talk to them. They are certainly the subject matter experts. They know what works and what doesn't. They're all over the place and have seen everything. And so they're a great resource. So reach out to them. If you're a high school student, get involved in FFA or 4-H. And once again, the Clemson Extension can help you with that. So if you are interested in agriculture, go find a farm to volunteer at, work at. There's farms everywhere in the state. So there's no shortage of farmers who would love to have you help out, whether it's, for a special event or occasion or, a regular job. And, you really have to kind of be a master of all things. And so don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and just kind of figure it out.
I'm really impressed. This has been great. Does anyone else have any questions?
No, but I do echo what Glenda said. We appreciate your and your husband's service and what you continue to do for veterans. And I'm glad you're moving to the Townville area. That's only a few miles from me, so I'll have to come visit.
Well, perfect. Yeah, we're in the Double Springs area, so.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Ritter. Anyone else have any questions for her? Ms. Glenda, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, I thought I clicked unmute. When do you anticipate moving to the Anderson area?
So we've already purchased the property and are in the process of moving everything up kind of as we speak. We've got a little bit more fencing to move. So probably the end of November, beginning of December is when we'll be fully up there, barring any fencing emergencies.
And how long have you been in Aiken?
We got to Aiken the end of 2017, but we just retired the end of last year. So that's really when we had some chickens and ducks, but it was last year is when we really got things going.
At this time, are you just doing virtual tours or are you having anyone to visit your farm?
So because we're in the middle of moving, we've kind of shut down all of our farm tours here. When we get back up, probably in January, we'll start doing tours up at the new farm. And typically we do, we do like one class a month that's open to, veterans or community at large, on different homesteading skills. And then we do, one or two public farm tours
Okay.
during the month.
Yes.
So
right,
yeah,
Miss-
it'll all be Project Victory Gardens on the Facebook page is usually the most up-to-date source of information.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I truly enjoyed it. I've learned a lot. Didn't know the difference between the little piglets. I tell you that. So
Yep.
that,
Yep.
that definitely helped me. My dad raised hogs back in the day. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of familiar with some of that and then
Yep.
wading in the mud and that type of thing. But
Oh yeah.
I always kid my husband about we need to get back to raising some of our own produce and that type of thing. So
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend. And as again here, the staff here at South Carolina Virtual School, truly thank you.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Thank
Many
you.
thanks. Good luck with your
Bye-bye.
move.
Thank you. Bye.